Okay, you're 4, so you're down 1, I think. This is a very strong team now, they're all smiling. Then they think 5, we're strong, yes? Okay, you're 4, and you're 4. So we'll see how we do for numbers. But we have this problem. So everybody understand, with Kano, it helps you think, are we doing enough? And also makes you think about competition. But it should also make you think okay, so what does the customer need? And you'll need to find that out when we give you the next part of the exercise. Now, let's have a bit of a look more at the product development stage here, this implementation. That is a stage where we need to bring together ideas from marketing, from R&D, from manufacturing, industrial design, all of the different departments in a company. If we're a service company, it will be marketing, it will be operations, and we can't forget. If you forget to bring one of the departments in, you have big problems. In the past, the Ford company would design quite good cars, and when they got to manufacturing, they were very expensive and difficult to manufacture. The Japanese, Nissan, Honda, companies like that were much better at involving manufacturing than Ford were in the 1990s. If we're an operations company, we can't develop a different service without involving operations. If we do that, we'll have big problems. British Airways developed a new seat for business class. So one of these seats where you lie down and you can sleep. And the seat was developed by marketing together with an outside company. They built all of these seats in the aircraft. They had a big advertising campaign, the most comfortable seats in business class. And they didn't talk to the operations, the people who organised the flights, etc. And one of the problems, the lamp on this seat, the reading lamp, it took 30 minutes to change the bulb. So if you imagine you've got a jumbo jet, you've got lots of things to get ready for this. If you have a light bulb which fails, which they did a lot, and it takes 30 minutes, it causes all sorts of problems. You must involve the different departments. So when we do new product development, we need to involve all of the different parts. And these different departments have different goals. And the problem is, that means that the different departments, between them, will be what we say is friction or tension. So if I'm in industrial design, I will probably want to make my product for making a mouse out of different material. I maybe won't want to make it in plastic, like this Microsoft, relatively cheap. If I'm an industrial design person, I will want particular materials. This desk is not real wood. Industrial designer will probably not like that. Okay? If I'm the finance person, we have to put here, we need to have them as well, so we need to think about the costs of finance. If I'm the costing, the finance person, I prefer this artificial wood much better than if we take something like Korean oak. No idea how much Korean oak costs, but presumably quite a lot of money. So we need to balance, and each of these different departments will quite often want different things. So cross-functional team, the problem is here we have tensions and we have what are called trade-off decisions. A trade-off is where I can't meet A, goal A and goal B. I can't meet both of them. So the industrial designer wants the most expensive wood, 200-year-old Korean oak if I can get it. The costings person wants plain plastic. What can I do that's in between that's maybe sensible? Or I might say, for our customers, we must have the oak and the costings go up. Or I might say, we don't go to the luxury market, we go to the mass market. So it always is in product development this problem that you've got different goals to meet. And we're going to need to think about how to do that. We have this other problem about knowing what the customer needs and what our competitors are doing. So we have a lot to do, and we want to get you to think about this and apply this in your own teams in a few minutes to get you into that thinking. And we're going to ask you to take roles. We're going to ask you in the group of 4 here to think who is maybe the R&D person, who is maybe the marketing person. Very practical marketing. And why they're different. What the R&D person will want the product to work technically. Quite often the R&D person might want to do things that are technically interesting. Big danger is the R&D person, if they're here, making it better, 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 which means more expensive, but the customer doesn't care. If the R&D is working on this feature, that makes sense for here. So quite a lot of things to balance and think about on there. Now, in here, the R&D person will want to put technology. And in Korea, you have a big focus on technology. That's good. But a question to you, think as it is more technology, is it always better? Is the best technology always better?
No.
No?
Not always.
Why not? Who would like to help us? Could be overshooting, couldn't it? The technology might be too much. Our customers might not need it. And quite often then the danger is that the technology will lead to features in a product that we don't need. Many products have features that are not that useful. If you think of your software on your computer, many of the features we don't use. If you have a digital watch, most digital watches will beep on the hour. When the first ones came out in the 1980s, in a room like this at 10 o'clock, it would have been going beep, 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 beep. Everybody's watch beeped every hour. Why? Not useful. So we need to be aware that on features, the customer wants certain things. What does the customer need? But we don't want in product development, we talk about bells and whistles. And that's an American expression because the American trains in the cowboy films in the Wild West, the trains used to have a whistle and also a bell. So when they arrived at the station, they could either ring the whistle or the bell. Why both? You only need one really. But quite often products have too many features, and Americans talk about not having bells and whistles in the product, taking out the features that aren't needed. For instance, here, so many features that most of them we're not going to. I'm here for 2 days in this lecture room with you, and we want on-off, and that's it actually. And we want the on-off to work. So we've got to be aware of that, not too many features. And we need to understand how technology influences our customers in what they're going to buy. So I'm not going to show you every slide today in the pack, but I'm going to concentrate on the key ones to help you with the simulation, the exercise, and the key ones. So we're going to select key ones with you. Cross-functional team working together has to communicate well. The Cano diagram should be a key analysis tool in your group. So it allows you to discuss things effectively, and it allows you to make sure you know where the features are here. Not everything is an excitement. Like you yesterday, you thought, we have a good concept, and then, it's all on the wrong line. With a chemical test company, Agilent, that makes the chemical test equipment for hospitals and various laboratories, very famous because they were the company that did the test that's in the Seoul Olympics. Ben Johnson, the American sprinter, had drugs, and it was that company where they found that he'd been taking drugs. But Agilent has a lot of equipment here in Korea. But Agilent, I worked with, we did this analysis on a product they were developing. And what we did was we had the team of 30 people developing it, and I divided them into marketing, R&D, manufacturing, and each group looked at the features and put them on the Cano diagram. So this was purely internal. Should afterwards go and ask the customer, but they did it internally. And R&D thought most things were excitement, and actually quite a lot were basic in performance. Marketing did their analysis. They were probably closer to what the customer thought, but marketing had 2 features on the excitement curve. When they discussed it, R&D said in that discussion, excuse us, but didn't you know one of those features we cancelled? We can't do it. So even in the internal discussion within the company, marketing and R&D didn't know which features were possible. And then the other thing, the other feature that marketing thought was excitement on this curve, somebody else said, the main competitor has just introduced that feature. Now, if the competitor introduces, remember, that affects the diagram. These are new to the world. If the competitor's got it, it forces it onto performance. So in that discussion with the company, we realized they had a major product development and they had no excitement feature. And they were about 9 months from product introduction. Fortunately, the management team decided to delay the product by 6 months. So a very brave decision. If we have no excitement, we need to delay the product by 6 months. And they did a lot of work to find some excitement features. So they did hidden needs and other things. So here should tell you when you're going to go to market, how to avoid going without excitement features. The communication is key in the team. This is a little picture here. This is what often the Americans call war room, but it's a new product development team room. And you can do this as a website if your team is in different locations. If your team is in one location, it helps to do it physically like this, take a room. And here, they've got the goals of the project. So they're trying to make this new project accessible. I can't read all of these. They've got details here of the market. They've got details here of some technical solutions. All of the information is there to help the communication, because when different departments talk to each other, they might use slightly different language. If you remember Marita on the video, he said marketing people are different to R&D people, and you probably see that in your companies. Okay. And quite often, the marketing people have a particular culture, and the R&D culture is different, and the manufacturing culture, and sometimes that means more tension. So when I worked at Hewlett Packard, R&D and marketing, it was always like this. And R&D always said they knew the market better than marketing, and quite often R&D in the 1980s, going back on, R&D really thought they were better, and marketing people were not very clever. And some companies, less extreme, but some companies like that. Having a good team leader and making sure every different department understands the different goals and has respect. R&D have their own skills, marketing have their own. We can't think we're better because we're... But be aware that people, when you put them in a department, they sometimes start acting as though they are a tribe. So we talk about in English tribal thinking, tribal. The danger is people then act like a marketing person, and that's okay.